Titan here, welcome back to another World of Tanks, and I have two videos this time, two games, both on the Tiger 131. I've been using it for crew training purposes recently. So I was training up the crew that replaced the previous crew in the Spy Panzer 1C that are now in the HWK-12, and this crew was destined for, or are destined eventually to finish up in the Indian Panzer, which I haven't yet unlocked. Although I spent last weekend, well, I didn't spend the whole weekend, I think I spent just Friday night, playing Tier 10 heavy tanks, but mostly IS-4 and IS-7. I never played them before. I've had the IS-4 for, I'd say, over a year. I've actually had it sitting in my garage and never equipped it, put crews into it or anything. It's just that was the buy to weekend thing going. So rightio, we're going along the dry riverbed here, heading towards the castle, because it's kind of one of the traditional locations for heavy tanks. We're a top tier heavy tank in this game. In fact, I think we're top tier heavy tanks in both games. And yes, the enemy have got more heavy tanks in this game as well. So we're deploying very conservatively, really. We're not actually advancing up north at all. So we're deploying along the nearest ridgeline essentially, and then kind of drifting along gently to the westward and meet where we meet here at the corner. So the Fury is coming out here in front of me, so I'm going to let him at it, let him find whatever's to be found. If the enemy have made it right up here to the castle, they can make a real fight of it. If they're actually caught en route, it can go very badly for them. There's the OI and a Tiger 1. The Tiger 1's in the west, I think the worst of all possible worlds, because it can be shot at from multiple directions. And I can actually, well, I mightn't hit with every shot, but I could, if he leaves me in the corner like that, I can shoot without risk of return fire, or much in the line of return fire. We have taken some hits, I'd say from the IS-7 and from whatever tank destroyers further back, or the IS rather, regular IS. But IS-7, Jesus, there was an IS-7 in this battle, we'd be screwed. I don't think I could penetrate an IS-7 from any direction. But the regular IS is downhill, and downhill is a big disadvantage because the top armour is not very well armoured, so you get the chance to shoot through the turret roof or to shoot the front glacis, but you get to shoot perpendicularly into the front glacis, so that the sloping it doesn't gain the benefit of the sloping of the front glacis. And with the not being spotted, we're now able to get down in here to the low ground, because usually this is where you become a cropper, is you're up in the castle and tank destroyers can spot you from across the river, and then you can't make it down here. But however, we've made it down here, and there's a lot of other people behind this KV-2. KV-2 itself won't last long, and the artillery's making a run for it, which is good, because it means if the artillery's driving, it can't be shooting at me. Which is good, because the Black Prince and the tank destroyer behind it is forcing everybody here into a kind of a static position. I've had a couple of tanks infiltrating forward, but I'm just a little bit too high up and a bit too exposed here. But however, I'm no longer spotted, so the enemy tanks have been forced back. Whoever spotted me has been forced out of position, and I'm now able to shoot at that AT-7 without risk of getting return fire, because the AT-7 could out DPM me, I'd say. However, he's been forced to adjust with the allied tanks that have moved forward, and I move in the same direction. In support, I should really have been heading east to now support my cap. We're probably going to win down here anyway, but I don't think I noticed. T-39 though is actually in pretty poor shape. He must take quite a bit of a punishment coming in, and the Easy 8's given him a difficult enough time. There's our Fury arrived. So we get in, we finish off the Easy 8 and the Black Prince. So now there's only 4 remaining enemy tanks left, and well, we know some of them are over by the river, almost near our base. So it is time, and one of them is here nearby. The IS-2M trying to stop us from getting there. So I'm going to sort of move my tank against the IS-2M, and 3 of us I think are heading for the base. So at least we're in the base before the enemy tanks have the opportunity to do it. And that one bounced, but the IS-2M is getting shot at. Tracked in the multiple tanks shooting at them, and that's pretty much, no matter how good the armor is, how trollish it is, it's not going to stop everything that's been thrown at it like that. And with 3 tanks in the base, we're going to cap out before the enemies get a chance to do anything, I think, because they have not yet capped. There's only 2 of them remaining, so they can't possibly compete with our cap, but I'm not going to get far enough along to actually engage with any of them either. Nor is the light tank going to engage with the artillery. The artillery is effectively saved by the bell. So 2,400 odd points of damage. Yes, 2,423 points of damage inflicted. 555 assisted damage. Second class mastery and a Confederate. And we came number 1 by experience after the T-29 number 2. And the next game is on Thiepval Ridge. This one also features the Tiger 131. It's also going to be a tier 7 battle. We're going to be top tier. This is more different kind. It's a similar kind of battlefield actually, because again the center is kind of unusable. That whole area with the trenches is just overlooked from so many sides that even though it appears to have a lot of cover in it, it's actually quite useless to anything, even light tanks, because the light tanks they can be spotted by tanks with higher elevation from around them, and in fact the areas around them are more useful for scouting. So we are going, well I'm going west. I'm more or less committed to going west. I mean, there's really only 2 directions. You go north from the southern spawn, or you go west. And especially in heavy tanks. Sometimes with light tanks you can kind of scout along the river line, or maybe in the high ground behind it. But you can't hang around there because, again, it's overlooked, and if you're spotted you're in serious trouble. Going west can also turn out to be serious trouble. It depends. Sometimes if the enemy make it to the river line, where the rivers join, before the party heading, the southern spawning party heading west, you can get into serious trouble there as well. It's where the T-37 is. The T-37 got into trouble because he made it to the spot and then got into some driving difficulties, but he also didn't make it in time. He didn't get there before anybody else had got into view range to spot him, and that VK3601 is just committed suicide, really. I mean, once the T-37 was being punished, there was no point in him pushing the corner, especially since he had no support. He was there in his own, and I've arrived here. There's no sign of any further enemy tanks. Now, the enemy also have a predominance of heavy tanks in this particular game, but I'm not pushing any forward because, again, I've no support. In fact, if I spotted enemy tanks, I'd be turning around going the other way because I have so little support with me. Now I have a little bit more support. So I'm sticking to where I am because A, I've caught enemy tanks in the open, which is a very juicy position to be in. They're already, the OIs are shooting at the Panther beside me, and this Tiger 131 is completely hopeless. He made the mistake of backing up, but he was too far gone to back up, so his nearest cover was actually in front of him. So if the Tiger 131, for instance, felt there was too many of us here, what he should have done was driven forward where the OI was, and then just kept going along the river to get back out. The OI I missed there, and the artillery. This is one of the things I don't like about this corner. You're very vulnerable to artillery fire, especially if you're pushing the corner. But we have a Dreadnought KV-2 with us. The Dreadnought has got a very formidable gun, as you can just witness there. So the AOI was finished off quite trivially. Now I don't want to stay at that corner because of the artillery. This, what you call it, the Crusader self-propelled is actually a fairly rapid firing gun. It doesn't pack a huge punch, but it just keeps punching away. That T-27 has caused me a bit of trouble, but he's also completely outstayed his welcome. He should have left. I should have left really as soon as the Tiger 131 got blown up. He was serving no further purpose for his team by hanging out up there. And again, the Black Prince is now completely isolated. I'm in reasonable cover, I think, from the enemy artillery. Although, depending on where they're located, they could get me. But I'm behind some rocks, so I might have some protection. And the Black Prince is nearly finished. Bounced the last shots, but there have been no incoming artillery strikes, and there is another heavy tank. Now the enemy again had a preponderance of heavy tanks, but again that Tiger should have left, or should be leaving. You know, shouldn't have waited for the end of the Black Prince, and people be shooting back at it. Mostly because the Tiger's escape route is uphill, so he's completely reliant on distance and being out of view to escape. And he doesn't have enough cover, as he's discovering, to survive up there. So I'm spotting him, I'm picking up the spotting damage, and I'm advancing my tank into the final locations because I want to catch some of the artillery. There's bound to be some artillery around there. Now we know where one of them is. We know where one of the heavy tanks are, remaining heavy tanks. And the other is a platoon partner, so he's probably not too far away, since he's also a heavy tank. And sure enough, there's another heavy tank spotted in the river. The artillery is spotted behind them, and there's probably another artillery further up the same road mostly because he didn't fire at me when I was advancing, except when I was up at the corner at the start. So I reckon that these rocks and hills are between me and him. Now I've spotted him. I'm not going to stop moving because again, Crusader self-propelled is a very quick aiming gun. So if I stop, it's to his advantage, not mine. Whereas if I close the distance, I can make up for the inaccuracy of the gun on the move. And we just keep going here because I'm not sure where that artillery is relative to the house. And then we fire on the Tiger 131. We missed, he missed. I'm not going to miss the next one because the angle is just right, and the rate at which he's moving is just not enough. And then I don't get a chance to pull out in front of the other artillery to fire at it, finish it off, because somebody else does it first. So there is 2 games in the Tiger 131, which is a nice tank that I really enjoy and probably don't get to play enough of. But then when you're grinding out lines, I suppose you can't really be playing with the premium tanks, and it earns decent amounts of money as well. Got a first class mastery this time, over 2000 damage, 1200 assistance damage. And we came number 1 by experience. So that's it, folks. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please press like, comment, share. It really helps the channel out. And if you have not already done so, please subscribe to the channel. I will catch you all again soon. Bye for now.